Okay, welcome back everybody. My name is Darson Grantham. This kind of content and YouTube channel or podcast that we do, Jared and I do it, and really our intent of this is to talk about the Des Moines real estate markets in general, our businesses, maybe deals that we have going on, whether they're our deals or just listed properties, and or what it looks like to sell a house or sell a property, commercial or residential. Again, my name is Darson Grantham. I do more of the residential investing, small multifamily, probably I would say up to about $2 million is probably where I'm probably capped and don't know the space above that, and that's why I have Jared on here and he joins me every week.
Yeah, and Jared Huseman here, president of the Catalyst team. A lot of multifamily deals, multifamily specialists across the state. We kind of work in that 1 to 10 million range, which is why Darson and I work a lot together because we cross over in that 2 range, that 1 to 2 range of quite a bit. And we always piggyback off each other and that kind of play into the bigger role of things. As always, we're just here to kind of share our thoughts on any week differently, whether it's real estate, investments, business. Just try to be a resource as always for you guys out there watching, so hopefully you guys can ultimately make more money and be successful.
Yeah, and if you guys have questions, comment on these videos. We have a fair amount, a couple dozen people watch them every week, which is very flattering. And I don't think my family is that big, so it's at least not just the family.
And I don't have any friends, so
yeah, this is probably true. If you do have questions, anything about what we're talking about or off topic, just reach out to us or comment. Again, we are probably some of the most transparent agents in the market, where we're going to shoot you straight. There is nothing hiding behind the curtain, let's say, right? We are both agents. We'd love for you to use us as realtors, but really we do these videos to educate our current clients and then anyone that is looking at the market of just what's going on.
I want to figure out this for 1 second. This isn't part of our conversation, but I want to figure out is that, one of the themes of my team, the Catalyst team, is trust through transparency, right? And Darson said transparent. And without saying too much, I know for me, at least in the last 24 hours, I know at least you even in the last couple of weeks, we've had buyers sellers reach out to us or other professionals in the marketplace, whether it be bankers or appraisers or attorneys, and ask our advice on deals that we aren't even part of. And we still give the advice as much as we possibly can in a legal capacity without breaking any laws or anything too, because we just want to be helpful. I had a client talk to me last night saying, I want to pursue this deal, but I want your blessing to go straight to the agent because I think I need to get a better deal on it and we just can't get a response. I said, that's great, that's fine, go for it, because at the end of the day, I want to be an advisor to him and work with him and be in a transparent capacity. So again, I want to keep tying it back, like that's what we're going to differ as agents, is we're going to give you the truth. We're not looking at this for just a commission.
Yeah, so to add that, and the reason, so we're both, as you can tell, like we're not super old. We're mid-30s, early 30s. And so like I plan to do this for a long time. You plan to do this for a long time. And so we don't have anything to protect because we don't know the good old boys club. Let's just put that. I don't know about you. I don't. Obviously we can dabble and stick our feet in that water, but we don't live and breathe it, right?
Well, and here's the thing too I want to go back to as well. And this is actually why, if you're watching, you need to be careful with this too, or watch this, is that one reason we can be so transparent and we're not transactional based is not just our longevity, but two, most important, we have investments. Yeah. We have other deals that's provide for our families and our incomes. So we're not 100% reliant on this next commission or paycheck as well. And that's what this is all about. It's about you guys as well out there watching, is like to create a life you want is to have the freedom to choose and be able to be a professional, whatever field you choose as well, but have investments, have deals. So that's another reason why we can be transparent and open and give what's best for our clients, because we have investments. We have our own thing going. I mean, does it make us, billionaires? No, maybe not. I'm not Elon Musk here, but and then it does at least provide some of a safety net for us so we can be more of an advisor to you guys.
Yeah, and no question about that. So, okay, now we'll dig into, so we promised of this podcast, we promised last week, maybe the week before, that we were going to go over a couple smaller multifamily properties, because before that we did some larger commercial deals. Jared and I went over. Jared gave us his kind of 2 cents on how he calculates things. So I brought 2 deals that we're going to evaluate that are currently both active. I know for a fact, I know in the commercial world we kind of laugh a little bit because they can be posted active, but they might not actually be active. I did check with both of these deals before we walked in the meeting, and they are still active on market, taking offers. And they are both that, I would say they're 2 of the, aside from one of them I have listed, I don't have either of these listed. They're 2 of the, I'd say better deals to consider if you are looking at the market. So it's real life, something's been on the market for a week or so, and we can kind of break that down. But first, let's dig into economy, what you're hearing from buyers and sellers, Jared. Like what last 5 conversations, what has been your like anecdotal, because obviously it's 5 conversations. What's been your takeaway?
At the end of the day, is I have no idea. And I say that as the agent. I say that also as the buyer or seller. Right now, at the end of the day, it's kind of a beaten dead horse, but every buyer's kind of on the sidelines, and they're just waiting right now. We're supposed to have another interest rate increase today. Today is Wednesday, the 27th of July. We're expecting another 3/4 point interest rate, and there's already talks of watching the Fed for what they're going to do next month as well. A pretty common assessment feedback from most of my clients in the investment commercial world is we're hitting pause until we know where everything's gonna shake out. We're very nervous. And talk to us again in the fourth quarter, basically. Most people are predicting the Federal Reserve is gonna get too aggressive on interest rates and they're gonna pull back coming into first part of 2023 or end of 2022 here. And sellers are just saying we are okay to hold off until then, or if they're really desperate, they are still selling, and buyers are holding off as well. What's keeping the market afloat is essentially the 1031 money or the large corporations who can get debt financing unattainable to some of these smaller individual investors and syndication groups. That's pretty much what I'm hearing in the market right now.
Okay, so I'll piggyback on that with the sellers. So I have been on the small multi world. I feel like they're opening up a lot.
Really?
Like there's been a lot more listings in the last 2 months, and I mean, then we got all of. Not all, but exaggerating, all of 2021. I mean, there's been more properties that come on the market. There's been more properties that have sat. That
are they selling?
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Right? Like these two right here. When they first came on the market, I thought they both would sell, and they didn't. One had a price decrease, and we'll get into that. But I was quite frankly very surprised. The numbers they're better than anything we've seen in 2021, right? Which if you back in the calculation of a rate increase percentages and how that affects it, it makes sense. I mean, it does if you're buying at the same criteria. I've had a pretty heavy inflow of buyers in the last 2 weeks. I'd have to run the exact numbers, but I've been overwhelmed with buyer onboarding calls to just discuss what does it look like to buy in Des Moines, what are the deals, where are we at, what's financing look like. And so I probably have had 5 calls each week of people calling me to just check in. Hey, we're looking to buy in Des Moines. What's it look like? Which in that April, May, June time period, 1 or 2 a week is what was probably coming in. So it's interesting. Who knows if it's cyclical or what?
Yeah.
If people have calmed down and looked at the interest rate and said, okay, they're at 6%. Let's see if we can find a deal at 6%.
Well, it's something you and I talked about before offline as well, is what people are doing too, is they're betting also on the market. They're betting on the Des Moines market. They're not necessarily betting on an individual property. They're betting on the fact that I'm going to, the tide rises all ships.
Yeah.
So I think maybe that's partly what we're seeing as well. And it's something it's not as important when you're dealing with like a house by house basis, but if you're looking to get any kind of scale in anything, whether it be I want 100 houses or I want 100 units, at a certain point, you need to start looking at not just betting on the investment, betting on the market, and you need to start looking at then, am I betting on the city, the state, even the country? We have to realize this too, that we ask.
You mean America's not invincible?
Right. Well, this is the thing though too. People are asking like, why people invest in New York City or LA when these cap rates are 1%? Well, that's someone from out of the country betting on the USA, not necessarily betting on Peru. I pick on Peru, just first popped into mind.
It's buying a bond instead of buying
exactly.
Dividends paying stock.
Exactly. So again, at a certain scale, you have to start understanding that you might be betting on the overall market and not necessarily the investment, because the tide's going to rise all ships.
Yep.
So again, it's not as important in an individual house, but just understand that at a certain point you can look at that as well.
Yep, that's a good perspective. Cool. Anything else on that?
No, I'd say let's just jump in here.
Okay.
You got some deals here, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts on them.
We'll dig in. First, we're going to look at 102 Northwest Sharman Drive.
Sharman, looks like, yep.
It's a duplex. This duplex is basically right smack dab in the middle of Ankeny. We'll pull up a map on the video that we release. Those of you that are on a podcast, State Street and First Street is kind of where the cross section is. That's right where this is at. Right by the Faith Bible Baptist College, I believe it is. Whatever.
So a lot of property in that area.
Yes, right. And so,
I told a lot of eightplexes in that area.
Right, and so that's one thing I want to talk about this property is it is not in a residential neighborhood, right? Which it was originally priced at $280, and I think that $280 mark was good if it was in a residential neighborhood. But because you're in the middle of multiple eightplexes, fourplexes, duplex row, it's in an area that there are a lot of small multifamily, medium-sized multifamily, and when you have a property like that, you should expect to pay a little bit less and not sell it for
This is the interesting part, because this is interesting you say this actually, Darson, because and this is getting very, very detailed on this specific market, this niche market.
Yep.
But it actually it hurts it from a residential perspective because it's a duplex in a multifamily area. But from a multifamily perspective, it might be really good. It also can be back to your competition.
A per unit
Yep.
price, you mean?
What's interesting about this specific subcategory in this market, because I sold a lot in this area over the years, this is actually the exact area I recommend a lot of new investors get involved in because there's a lot of fragmented ownership. There are probably 300 to 500 apartment units on this within a quarter mile radius of this property, all built in the same time frame, all very similar. But out of those 500 units, you probably have 50 owners.
Yep.
And that
And
also,
of that 50, how many actually upkeep their properties?
Exactly. This is a lot of older owners as well, mom and pop ownership groups. I've had a couple of clients have a lot of success in this actually specific market. This is an area I recommend investors very much piggyback on. Because you don't need to compete with the big guys, you're competing with more of the mom and pops, and it's a way to add value that they're not. And ultimately, you can have success. So this actually goes back to what I said earlier about analyzing the market. This is analyzing at a very sub-market, very, very niche neighborhood level. But it's things that I look at when I'm analyzing deals for my clients. I'm sure you do as well.
And it's intangible. It's tough to put it on paper. Because if this property was 3 blocks to the east in a residential neighborhood, it would be 280 to 295.
Well, and let's be honest here. Go a few blocks more to the north. Go closer to 18th Street on Ankeny there. You go 5-6 blocks to the north. You're in a residential area.
Yep.
This easily sells for 280.
Yeah. So the other things about this property, and we'll kind of dig in of what it looks like. It looks like a side-by-side duplex, but it's up-down duplex. Another reason a lot of investors struggle with up-down duplexes, and it's a built for purpose. It's not a conversion, but you have one tenant that always complains about the other because of the noise. Yep. It's inevitable. So those up-down duplexes are always going to sell for a little bit lower premium or price than your side-by-side duplexes. Each unit does have a full basement though. I've walked it, really cool. A great owner-occupied option. The current owner isn't owner-occupied.
Which is funny, it says actually in the notes that this is actually an owner-occupied duplex.
Yep.
So great house hack.
It is a great house hack. For Ankeny, it's the best that's come on the market in the last 2 years, year and a half. The downside of it, a couple downsides of it. One, and this is for those of you that own rental properties that are considering selling. The owner, from my understanding, just leased the bottom unit for like $750 a month.
$765 per month, and they paid a full year in advance. It says in the remarks.
Yes. So
you're locked in.
You're locked in as an investor. When you buy that, you have to buy that lease.
Yep.
And so you have to buy that return. When in reality, you're probably looking at a $950 a month rent if you could take that to market right now. Clean it up a little bit, but you're probably right at $950.
The interesting part about this too, when you work with up and down duplexes like this, and up and down units in general, is and sometimes the bottom unit actually leases for more because you have less steps.
Yeah.
The ironic part is you also have someone above you, which means it can make noise. So it's very interesting that too. But the reason I say that is that $765 a month, it's obviously below the market at a 2-bedroom, 1-bath for this area. But it also is one of the factors of that's the downstairs unit that's being rented for a full year already.
Yep. Yeah. So clean units. They need some updating a little bit here. Pretty standard.
Walking the numbers here, Darson. Looking at this here myself. $265 list price, $127 a foot. That's, I think, reasonable right now. You definitely cannot build for that. There are rebuild values there. Quarter acre lot, 2-bed, 1-bath. Utilities are all separated on the tenants, which is a great thing for ownership.
So let me explain that real quick. A lot of duplexes in Des Moines proper, your utilities are not split. Even built for purpose, a lot of times the owner pays water and the tenants just have increased rent, or sometimes they're billed back by the owner. Very rarely everything is split. In Ankeny, almost everything is split on utilities.
Yep.
So again, just a little nuance of Des Moines versus Ankeny, and it's all Des Moines Metro, but it's the different types of builds in each area.
Yeah, so I'm looking here through the pictures as we're talking here. Looks like a nice area. Definitely room to build a garage, looks like on the back. So that's potentially some value add component there. Each unit has their own in-unit laundry, looks like. Again, great. Cabinets are a bit outdated in one of the units for the kitchen, so maybe some potential upgrades there. Definitely, if you were to remodel these units, $12,000-$15,000 per unit. I'm just going to do a quick math on updating kitchens, LVT, vanities, plumbing, flooring, etc. Again, in this area, an upgraded 2-bed,
if you did that, you're
1-bath.
You're the nicest duplex multifamily on that block.
Well, and I'm just going to do math here. If you're going to do it, I'm going to guess for a 2-bed, 1-bath upgraded, this is 2,000 square feet, you're going to be getting probably $1,000 a month rent out of each unit, if not more.
If you upgrade it, it'll be more than that, I think.
If not more, yeah. And then you're in for $200,000, or you're getting $2,000 a month, $24,000 a year, at a list price of $265. Now you're going to put $30,000 so into it to get to that level.
There's a lot of options here. The other thing we haven't really talked about, it's literally on First Street. So if you know Ankeny, First Street is one of the main roads of Ankeny. And so when you have a for rent sign in that yard, everybody and their mom sees it.
Yeah.
Right. So you're going to have applications. Yeah, you're going to have applications all over the place.
A couple of things I will say I would consider on this deal, as I'm looking through this here, is it says, gross taxes is about $4,000 a year, so that's about $300 a month.
Yep.
You're gonna have probably about $150 a month of insurance, about $500 a month of taxes and insurance. Utilities should be on the tenants. Lawn care, snow should be on the tenants as well. Potential upgrades to garages, which garages I don't think are going to be a huge value add in terms of your rent, but it will change the tenant profile you're going to get because tenants will like to have garages. So that's something I like to talk about with some minors too, is that when we're talking about all these upgrades, it doesn't always have to be a dollar for dollar upgrade. It can actually just improve the tenant quality you get, or the less questions you get or complaints.
Yep. You go from a B- tenant to
a B+. Yeah, or E+,
plus,
A-. That can be huge.
Yep.
And especially if you're self-managing these properties, I can tell you what, the sanity of having less phone calls and complaints will be worth it. But the thing I look into, and this is just something I look at here, is with Ankeny, I will say something to be cautious of is taxes are going up drastically right now because prices are. So if you are going to buy this, definitely underwrite some very aggressive two things: taxes going up, and then also your rent's going up because the rent's also going up really fast in that area.
Yep.
But the good news is too, with this area, with the way there's a property sits, and this is again looking at the market, the macro thing, it sits about a mile away from brand new construction to the south, and about a mile away from brand new construction to the north.
Yeah.
And it's right in the middle of both of those. So again, back to the upgrade, if you can upgrade these units and get nice units, get some garages out of it, you are centrally located to new development on literally both sides of this project. North, south, east, west, every way you go 1 mile out, either way almost, maybe 2 miles out, 2-3 miles out tops.
Yep.
And you're hitting new stuff. So well located, definitely has some potential there.
Yep. And so I look at this at 265, and if I had a buyer and say, hey, I'm interested in this, like, you're not in this market, it's changed in the last year. You do not need to put a 265 price offer in there. They started at 280, they decreased to 265 a day or two ago. So yes, it's went down. We know that, but still, put an offer in there that makes sense for you, or get aggressive. That's what I'm seeing, and I'm coaching my buyers to do. And as a seller, you should expect that. It's how the market's changed. If you're hard on your number as a seller, great. Make that known to anyone that puts an offer in, and then the buyer can readjust.
So
that's how I handle it.
Asking your opinion, Darson, here, because I don't know residential all this is. You're going to be. I'm going to ask you to coach me on this for a second here. But if I'm doing math in my head, knowing the market today, it's going to take about $30,000 to get the units all upgraded and rented.
That's to get very, very top.
That's top down. Right? Yes.
You know what I mean? That's so you could buy this, and it could be turnkey.
Right, and that's getting. So I'm just doing math on perform, like what it can be, what I can get to it. Because I'm a commercial agent, I always run performance,
Yep.
right?
Okay.
So I put $30,000 into this property. I'm getting $24,000 a year of gross income. I'm only gonna have very minimal expenses, whatever it may be. At that price, I put the valuation at like $275, $285 maybe.
Yeah. If you're bringing in $1,100 each side.
Yeah. I was thinking $1,000 each side at least.
If you're spending that money though, you better be bringing in $1,100 a month.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like and I think the market, I think the market would ask for that.
And so this is why I've come back to this. If I was doing this and I was making an offer on this property, $285, let's just say, is what it's worth when it's all fixed up, getting good market rents.
Yep.
You take $30,000 it's going to take for repairs. I'm coming out to an offer of $252, $255 on this property.
When I first see this, I'd say $250.
Okay.
Just to unless you really wanted to live in and own it, right? Because if you own this and you own or occupy it, it's worth $265.
Okay.
All day long.
Yep.
If you own or occupy it,
Yep.
if you're an investor, that's a different funding, different perspective.
Yep.
Like owner occupies, usually you're kind of first in trying to get in. It's that person's either buying one every month or every year. So it's worth $265. If you're truly looking at the investment return, I'd start at $250 and see where the seller goes.
Right. Buyers want to negotiate. They always want to offer a little bit less.
And sellers always ask a little more than they think they should get.
Exactly. So you always do that. So again, when we talk about this being offered $250 and some buyers say, well, I can't offer that, or maybe the agent gets mad on that. Well, if they've been an agent long enough, they should know that that's actually a standard offer. It's been historically proven that most properties trade hands at 96% offer sale price to asking price as well. So these things I track as well, by the way. These things also I track for anybody out there watching, other agents as well.
Sale price versus list price.
Yes, because there are other agents out there who will talk about how they have all these listings out there of investment property or deals, yet all of it's overpriced and never sells or never closes. And at the end of the day, do you want to work with an agent who's going to list property or going to actually sell property?
Yep.
So anyway, things I'm looking for, guys, and back to buyers, what how I would coach my buyers on as well if they want to make a lower offer.
Awesome. Okay, we'll move on to different style property. This is 732 19th Street in Des Moines, which is a Sherman Hill neighborhood. So when you hear that name, if you don't already know, in Des Moines, Sherman Hill is kind of a historic.
Is historic.
It's very historic, I was going to say kind of nostalgic, historic neighborhood that has not an association, a neighborhood
association.
Neighborhood association. Is that what it is?
Yep. Sherman Hill Neighborhood Association.
So that most of the houses have to keep their historic feel and look, depending on their, their bylaws, their rules. Anyway,
I'll just say historical societies are very historical.
They can be tough to work with. There's no question, and we've talked about this a little bit before. So buying in this neighborhood, it's got its pluses and it's got its minuses.
Here's the thing about this. I'm going to just real quick here. This is tying this deal as well. The joke I've always made, and for anyone watching the game may be offended by this, but historical society means hysterical, because usually they're hysterical in what they want. Here's the thing I will say. If they're historical, they've been there for a long time, they maintain their value for a reason. So, yes, they're hysterical, but there's also a reason they're hysterical is because their values have been there for a long time. And one thing, I coach my buyers on this as well, and any owner, is, especially here in Iowa, it's different than the coast, different cities, but I want to buy where there's been value for a long time. If I buy in the newest suburb of Urbandale right now, yeah, that's a brand new house, and I think it has value today, but will it have value in 100 years, or will it just be the next Des Moines north side, south side Des Moines, or will it just be the next Windsor Heights, or whatever it is? Will it just be the next suburb in a long line of suburbs? So one reason I like to buy downtown or in these older locations is they've maintained value for a reason. There was a reason someone went there 100 years ago, and 100 years on the road, someone will still go there for another reason.
Yep.
So again, historical society also can mean hysterical, but also can mean preservation of value.
Yep. So this property is kind of the complete opposite of the previous one we looked at. It is a conversion, or it was a house that had a ton of add-ons. Don't really know. I've walked it. Guy bought it, 3 to 5 years ago, and at the time he bought it, it was basically shag carpet. It was, I think it's 7 units, so you're gonna have to get a commercial loan on this. The listing does not have any photos. If you reach out to me or you reach out to the listing agent, there is a financial document that they'll send out that gives you all the details. It's actually priced on actuals, from my understanding, at a 10 cap, which is bonkers. Because when I first saw it, I was like, there's no way this is actually a 10 cap. And I think it is. I looked at the numbers, and it's a converted property at a 10 cap, which always is not far off what market says. But it is very choppy. So 7 units. One of the units is a basement unit with probably 6'5" ceilings, has a current rental certificate. And so I've had a few investors just ask about this and say, why wouldn't I buy this? My reason to buy it would be the cap rate, the return, really good return. The bad side of it is it's a conversion, and you're going to have to figure out what the previous owner did, who self-managed it, what the previous owner before him, where they put all the plumbing, the electrical, the whatever, and you have to deal with the historical society.
So I guess the things I'm looking at in this property deal, Darson, is I'm seeing as well. This is kind of, again, where we both play a lot, and you play better than me. One, list price per square foot, 126. Remember, our last deal was 127. So it's interesting. Both are priced very similar in a price per square foot range.
You pay attention to that quite a bit?
I do, actually. I do. Because here's the thing. I pay attention to what rents are, and I look at rents per square foot as opposed to price per square foot. Okay. At the end of the day, if I can buy a property for $100 a square foot and my rents are $12 a year, per square foot, this is kind of how commercial people look at things. That's a 12% cap rate. Okay. So I look at price per square foot actually a lot. I also compare that a lot to what can I build for today. This is more of how you look at, so in residential you look at comparable sales, but in commercial you look at cap rate, and you look at the rebuild approach. Yep. And the way I look at the cap rate is look at price per square foot, the list price, and what I come out per square foot. I can generally come out to cap rate numbers there. So very interesting. That's similar like list price per square foot. One's in a better location, one's built as a duplex. This is a good location still, historical there. What I'm very curious about is, and I'm curious to hear some numbers here. So it looks like we're showing what is this now?
Yeah, so
$5,000 a month, $5,500 a month, excuse me, in income.
That's
in income. So $60,000 a year and a year. So I can tell you pretty confidently right now, I can tell you exactly why I think no one's buying this deal. I'm looking at this in 2 seconds.
let's hear it.
So first off, your rents seem to be in line, maybe a little low. I see for a 2-bed, $1,050, that's a little bit low. It could be higher, but it's a conversion. 1-bed, $650, $775 for a 1-bed. Could be low, no, $75. So there's some room for the rents increased. But right now, they are showing taxes, water and sewer, trash, insurance, lawn, snow, repairs, and then the gas, electric, all that stuff at $24,000 a year, $2,000 a month of expenses. Instantly, the first thing I look at, and this is just me how I look at things, $24,000 of expenses on a $66,000 income puts you at 45%, 40%. I have never seen conversion property run at that level. Yeah. So generally speaking, conversion properties, I always run a quick math, 60% is going to be expenses. So if we take 66,000 times 0.4, because we're going to invert it here and have 40% net income, that's $26,000 a year, $400 of income, divided by your $400,000 list price, comes out to a 6.6% cap rate.
Gotcha.
Now, is that terrible? No, it's actually not that terrible at all. I mean, I've probably listed for 6.6, but for a conversion, it is.
Yeah.
So the part that I'm going to instantly call BS on, and all these numbers actually look accurate, for me, it's the repairs.
Yeah, you just don't, and you don't know, right? Mm-hmm. Like that's
and the reason most people, conversions, Darson, I know you love them, you can make a lot of money at them. If you're going to buy a conversion, you better be making some good cash flow. Yeah. Typically, you buy conversions, in my opinion, for cash flow. You're not going to get a lot of equity out of them. It's not going to grow appreciation-wise.
That's the one thing we're going to talk about, is that the appreciation on this property is next to zero.
Right? Exactly.
Because you can't turn these property, because all of the units, and we'll show some pictures, they're all like modern updated. Mm-hmm. They aren't historic updated. Mm. So you can't turn them back to historic without spending a considerable amount of money.
Right.
And so without doing that, you're not going to increase the appreciation unless rents go up, which rents could go up, but usually not.
And the other thing too, I mean, and this is just my experience. This is only 13 years of experience working for me, so what do I know? Converted units usually to me typically mean jerry-rigged. There's some kind of jerry-rig of going on between, again, the plumbing, you mentioned earlier, the plumbing, the HVAC, the furnace, whatever it may be. It's just going to add up to a huge amount. A general rule of thumb for me, this is what I just follow. On conversions, I'll run a 15% repairs maintenance account compared to the income. And then a 5% CapEx, so 20% repairs, maintenance, and CapEx.
Interesting.
Basically 10 and 10. Yeah, that's how I run my numbers. All of us numbers, we can argue whether they're right or wrong.
Yeah, because there are, and we could have looked at another one, that there's a duplex conversion on right now that is like, I walked it and it was done well. I mean, it is a conversion, but you can tell the correct plumbing was put in, the correct electric was put in. So like, that's where you can use the rule of thumb like you do. And I totally get it. And there's no reason not to at least initially start that way. Mm-hmm. But then when you look at the property and you're like, oh shit, all this electric is done really well. Like there isn't going to be the quirky Frankenstein, who knows what you're going to find when you open that wall. It's all been done. Right. And when it has, then that's a different repairs. This one that we're looking at right here is not that case.
Right.
It totally is Frankenstein to the nth degree. Let's just put it that way.
And here's the interesting part, just as a rule of thumb for me. That's just the math on it here for us while we were talking. Generally speaking, for me, when today's market, how it's working, based on where it's at, what the rents are, I'm going to price most conversions in the 40,000 a unit range, maybe 50,000 unit range at the very top, right? So let's do quick math. 50,000 a unit range times 7, that's 350,000. Based on a 60% expense ratio, 40% income, your NOI is getting 24,000 a year. At 350, it's a 7.5% cap rate.
Yep.
At that, in this area, it would probably attract offers.
Yeah.
So I think 350, it would attract offers. I think if you wanted to come out and offer 300, 320 out of it though, I think it'd still be, I'm
a huge fan of just putting an offer out there.
Yeah.
In the investor world, if you piss off an investor with a low offer, like they're not someone you want to work with anyway, like in my opinion. So you might as well start negotiating. As a listing agent, if it's been on the market a week, like put an offer in there. We might say go pound sand. Like it might happen. You've done it. I know you've done it. But like just do it. Start the conversations. Like I'd rather get a no than wonder if I would have got a yes.
Look, here's the thing, and this is a little different maybe how commercial works as well, and it's a nuance. But I'll give you an extra case in point. Just the other day, a friend of mine listed a property. He asked me to buy it, and I said I'd look at it. And I looked at it, and I just couldn't make numbers work. I told him I'd respectfully not put an offer in; it'd be too low. He said make me an offer anyway. It was 50% of what he was asking for.
Yep.
It was literally 50 cents on the dollar. And I said, it's probably too low, but you asked me for an offer, so here it is. And he's kind of laughed at me. He goes, yeah, that's too low, but I appreciate the thought and the effort. But here's the thing, it was a friend of mine, and I still made him a low offer.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, and this is, again, I want to be clear on, I made him a verbal offer too. It never hurts to call up an agent. We do a lot more in commercial than residential, I know. But if you want to residential,
it almost never happens. And it mind boggles me of like, why wouldn't an agent just call and be like, hey, we're thinking about offering something around here, and like, what does your seller think? But no one does it.
Right.
I've been looked at with cross-eyed when I ask someone that, and I'm like,
see,
okay,
in commercial, we just
ask again.
In commercial, we do that all the time. But it never hurts when we call, do a verbal offer. You call up the listing agent, you call up the seller, whatever it may be, and say we want to make a verbal offer of X, Y, Z. Now, I will say I did have a buyer in the last 2 weeks who wanted to offer $1 for $1.5 million property, and I respectfully told him I would not present that because it was offensive. And he wasn't very happy with me on that.
I want to hear that story.
We'll do that offline. But again, like if he had offered $70,000, $1 million on this property, it's listing at $500,000 and a half. I'd have said, hey, probably no. The answer is not really. We've turned on higher offers, but I'm not gonna be mad at you for wanting to put it in. I mean, it takes
one of your listings. Okay.
Just takes out of my time.
Yeah.
But either way, back to this deal here, the 7-plex.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, I think 350 or less. I mean, 300. I mean, if I was buying it, back to your numbers at a true 10 cap. If you want a true 10 cap, it's 260 based on my quick numbers. 280 is probably really, really, really good.
Well, one thing, like the expenses are estimated, right? Mm-hmm. And so to me, and the property management is not in here either.
I was gonna say the same thing too.
So like it should be actuals. He's owned it long enough to have actuals on a property, in my opinion. And so when they don't give you or aren't able to give you actuals, and this is for you sellers too, if you can't come up with actuals, like you're going to get shittier offers.
Yep.
Because you can't prove anything.
Yep.
So, and I'm not the accounting nerd. I know you're much better with numbers and that than I am. I've started hiring it out to a property manager. So whenever I list my properties, I'm going to go to the property manager and say, hey, how much did I spend? I do have a tax guy doing it too, a bookkeeper. But my point in that is if you can't prove your actuals, then you're going to get like what someone thinks the actuals are, which are always going to be higher than what the actual.
So I'm making examples actually here, and this is actually
too many actuals.
A self thing here as well. But and again, my example actually, I worked with personally here, and I'm biased, very biased in this one, because I own my own parents. I helped my parents sell a 16-plex 2 years ago, 16-unit complex. My mother self-managed the property and owned it, but she had notes on top of notes of every unit, of when stuff was fixed, who they used, who the contractor was, when it was done, everything. And we sent out massive files to the buyers when it came down to it. And the buyers were flabbergasted at the amount of notes my mom had on the 16-unit complex. And because of that, we were able to get a very aggressive offer very quickly, and no one argued with anything because she had notes on top of notes. And, my dad admittedly laughed at her, like, how much most she took. But at the end of the day, it helped us get our sale price, and no one argued with anything because we had everything documented.
It's funny
and
how
it works.
In the residential sales,
Mm-hmm.
it works. When you walk into a house and it's all incredibly organized, even if it's an ugly house, it feels better, right? Mm-hmm. If you have all the receipts to all the shit that you've purchased over the last 10 years owning it, like as a buyer, it feels better to purchase that than, well, this is a flipper. He owned it for 6 months. We think the work was done well. It's just interesting on both commercial and residential.
I had a transaction actually down the street from this one, actually in Sherman Hill, just get closed last month, Murillo Flats. My client actually redeveloped the property, historical site, redeveloped the historical tax credits about 10 years ago. And I spent my buyer last week actually, who now is the new owner. He said it's amazing because they've had to go in and do some like touch up paint different spots, and they have to use X or Y or Z, whatever it was. And again, the previous owner has notes on top of notes of every paint color they use, type of wood, everything. And this has been amazing. They said that the transition has been superb, and they would absolutely do another deal with the same seller.
Yeah.
Which again, like this is again, essence marketing to think about. And I'm making this statement as well to anybody out there who owns a house, just as an owner as well.
Yeah.
If you document things and I say, here's the paint color, I have eggshell and satin in these areas and it's flat in these areas. This is the texture I used on that. This is the carpet. It sounds stupid, but you will do better when it comes time to sell. And on the sound, and I mean, this is why we have teams as well. But for anybody out there watching on a business perspective or any flippers, you should run your business and your flip just like this as well. If you're a flipper, you should have all these notes for the new buyer.
Yep.
If you are a
none do right now. Almost none. I walk through a lot of properties like that. Almost no flippers have any organization. There's no communication of like what was done. I say no, very little.
I will say this right now too, for anybody out there that's looking to flip houses right now, 100%, if you want to avoid a lawsuit as well in the future, and I know flippers who have been sued, is keep notes of this and provide your book. Have a 3-ring binder book or a Dropbox folder or something. Provide to your buyer at closing all your invoices, all your contracts, all the materials you used, because I'm telling you right now, if you flip houses, you do this enough, you will be sued by some buyer. And if you provide that, the likelihood of you getting sued, or if you do get sued, the likelihood of them winning is going to be drastically reduced. But you need to keep notes on everything. If you are not anal retentive, hire someone who is. And this goes back to just being good business practice. If you run a business, you need someone who's going to be like that to help you, because ultimately it'll create more value for whatever you're doing. Whether it be your business.
Hire it out.
Yeah. Or hire it out. But again, hire it out. But create someone who's going to track things. Because again, this is why we're talking right now, the 7-plex. I don't believe in repairs. Yeah. I don't believe it. It says, all it says is a note that says below budget. See below budget. Well, I don't know what their budget is. I can find
just
it, look through it.
below budget. So below what it's
budgeted for.
Probably budgeted.
If this agent were to send me a list of every repair done in the last 5 years and what it was, you know what? I will buy that. But until I see that, I mean, it's just a number on a piece of paper. It means nothing to me.
Okay, well, we'll wrap this up. We've belabored both properties really well. Kind of broke them down, tore them apart.
Definitely.
And we would do this with our listings too, of some capacity. I didn't put my listing up here because I don't know. I mean, I don't say it's not fair, but it's just not
selfish.
Yeah. I'm happy to do this with any listing that I have, and I'm sure you are too. Of like, hey, this is what the actuals are. This is why we put the numbers down. We do, but. If you are interested in anything that's on market, reach out to one of us. You can find our information below. So we'll wrap this up by saying, I guess.
I mean, just if you have any questions, as always, comment below, reach out to us.
Yeah.
You can find me, Jared Huseman, just Google me. Otherwise, the Catalyst team at KW Commercial, KATALYST, TEAM.com. Darson, as always, you can find as well, link below.
You got anything going on in the next couple? Yeah, any business, any
not that I can think of off the top of my head right now.
Okay.
My brain's all foggy from getting into this rant on details and property analysis. So
I don't think we do either. So, okay, until next time, please reach out if you have any questions. Happy to be here for you, and just come say hi.
Yeah, see you guys.
Too.